welcome to this week's show. This week all about Rapunzel and what she was really up to in that tower, because, I mean, it's all a bit weird, isn't it? I don't know actually the real story of Rapunzel, but I do know that she lived up in this tower for a very long time, many years, all by herself. And she didn't clamber down and get away if she could, anyway. What was she doing up there, you know, and everything? She had this boyfriend, a prince or something, who didn't mind climbing up her hair, you know. Didn't worry him. Didn't seem to bother her too much either, because she allowed him to do so, I guess. And he'd climb her up there, and he'd jump in and say, "Oh, hello dear, how's things?" She'd go, "Is there no other way you can get into the tower, dear? Surely there's a ladder around somewhere in some hardware store or something." And he would say, "Oh, I don't know about that. I quite like climbing up your hair." And she said, "That's creepy." He said, "Well, it's sort of creeping. It's sort of more a bit like clamber, I would call it." And she said, "No, you're creepy." He goes, "Oh, okay. Whatever." But anyway, he said, "Yeah, well, you know, I have looked into the whole thing of getting a ladder. But the thing is, it's very high, you know. I don't think they make ladders so high." She said, "Well, what happened last week? You said you were going to a hardware store to look for a ladder, you know, an extendable ladder, you know." And he said, "Well, I went there and they were out of ladders. And I asked if he had anything else similar, and the man in the shop said, 'Well, we sell wigs.'" And he said, "Sorry?" And he said, "Well, we sell wigs." He said, "What am I going to do with a wig? I can't climb up a wig, can I?" He said, "There's plenty of chaps around here who don't have girlfriends like you, sire. And so that's what they do. They just buy a wig. And they attach the wig to the tower, you see. They clamber up the tower, you see. And so it's not just you who has this fetish about climbing up a woman's hair, you know." I said, "Really? God, I thought it was just me." He said, No, it's quite a popular thing. People around here, they like that sort of thing. "So I'm not so creepy after all," he said. I said, "No, you're not." Well, just sort of are, but anyway. But anyway, yeah, so she said, "Well, you mean, well, a wig's no good, is it?" Fine. "Well, perhaps you could have got a wig." He said, "Well, they were out of wigs, you see." And she said, "You are just coming up with weak excuses. Just get something." And he said, "Why don't you leave the tower? You're living in here. I'm having to climb up here all the time. Why don't you leave the tower?" And she said, "Well, then I'll show you. If you want to know, really." So she went over to the wardrobe, and she opened up the wardrobe, and out came a horse, going like that, you see. And the man looked at it, the prince. He said, "Strange horse." She said, "Why is that?" He said, "Well, it's the first horse I've ever seen that goes like that. Normally they just go, nee, or something like that, you see." She said, "Well, he's a little odd. But anyway, just come over to the window here and we'll show you what we've been up to, you see." So they went over to the window and she said, "Look, see his tail? It's 30 foot long." And he said, "Look at his tail." And then she said to the horse, who said, "Now, dear, this is the prince that I've been telling you about." And the horse sort of looked around, and then he lifted his foot a little, and he kicked the prince out the window. So there you go. That's why she lived in the tower. She had been married to a horse for several years prior to even meeting the prince. And, yes, he didn't know about it. Anyway, go and watch funny, crazy videos. My 200th subscriber. Thanks a lot for watching this week's video. Please rate it. Even better, subscribe. Thanks a lot, and I'll see you next week. Bye.